The Tabletop Bellhop team is here to answer your gaming and game night questions. Tonight, that question is one we answer every year in October. What are the top choices for thematic board games to play during the spooky season?
So one quick thing before we dive into our favorite creepy games, and that's the fact that October, fall, and Halloween all mean different things to different people, and not everyone in the world celebrates the same way. Now, while most people, especially in North America, deep dive into the horror element of this season, others are more about keeping things creepy cute, or spoopy seems to be the popular word for that now. And there's also just games about the harvest and harvest season, which is also part about this time of year. And then, well, some people think this entire season is a chance to dress up as your favorite sexy hot dog, or whatever case you may be. And, well, I can't think of any particular games about wearing sexy costumes. Actually, prove me wrong. Let me know in the comments if there is one. The only game I can think of about dressing you up is Pret-a-Porter, and that doesn't really fit the Halloween theme to me. But the whole point is the games we're going to be talking about tonight could fit any of those genres. We're not sticking to horror games. We're not sticking to cute games. We're not just going to talk harvesting games.
I have spotted 0 sexy hot dogs in Pret-a-Porter.
Yes.
The point is that our list is made up of games we think fit the current creepy season in some way. Some are horror games, sure, and others are based on horror franchises, but some are just about monsters, etc. We won't be sticking to one particular Halloween aspect here, but I think any of these should fit in great at a Halloween-themed game night.
And just remember, your Halloween costume can always be sluttier. Doesn't have to be, just saying.
If you're going to throw in that, we will also add in that costume does not equal consent. Just because someone's dressed slutty doesn't make them a slut.
For us, Halloween is generally about that spooky, creepy season. Well, there is always some nice, fun spoopy, like the Boop game of that's definitely creepy cute. For the most part, I think most of us are fans more of the horror. Maybe not necessarily slasher flicks, but some level of horror. I know I have to say I have seen more ghost faces and ghost face masks in the past month than I have ever seen in the rest of my life put together, I think. Ghost faces definitely.
I've still never even seen Scream, so I dig it's just the creepy thing, like the goth aspect of it. I like all the spiders and skeletons and black clothes and witches and cauldrons and all that. But I have no interest in most of the horror movies or that aspect of it, especially the slashers. Like, yes, I dig the Alien films, for example, but they're more sci-fi and a lot of them are very action oriented. Than anything else. I'm not into the scares. I'm not a big haunted house fan, but I love all the decorations and the pumpkins and pumpkin carving and the trick or treating and the kids going out and getting candy and all those aspects of it.
Yeah, I embrace the Victorian Gothic Poe sort of Halloween. We'll go with that.
I have to say, I got a chance to visit Scare House here in Windsor for the first time last weekend, and it was fantastic. They do a wonderful job, and if you are into that sort of in-person scare, haunted house sort of thing, I can now recommend Scare House Windsor as a great destination to go to. They even do things like themed dinners, like you can have dinners in the haunted house and such like that. They've got themed rooms. That was fantastic. For movie-wise, for horror movies, I was always more into like Chopping Mall and The Blob, not necessarily Halloween horror, but more, horror gore. All right, well, with that, let's get to our list. As usual, these games are in no particular order, and we have tried to make sure these games were all games you could rush out and pick up now so that you would have them in time for your Halloween-themed game night.
We've got 13 game recommendations for you because, well, 13 is spooky.
So the first one on the list for me is La Familia Hort. This is the twisted farming game that we reviewed just last week, where Granny Hortensia has died and has come back as a ghost and appeared to her grandkids during a blood moon and offered them her entire estate to the child that can best tend her gardens. This is a quick-to-learn economic farming game with a cute theme and this creepy Edward Gorey style artwork. I think this fits this season perfectly because it gets that whole harvest season thing going on as well. You're growing gourds and pumpkins and flowers. And plus, it's got that creepiness with the different characters and the blood moon veggies, I guess we'll call them. I don't even know. These special tools and things that you can grow only on a blood moon that definitely have a kind of Beetlejuicy horror aspect to them. So this one's great for people who just want to celebrate the harvest, as well as people who want a little bit of creepiness for Halloween.
So I've got my first one is Boxtop Pinball Haunted House from Pandasaurus. Now this is a brand new dex-based dice-flicking pinball game. A quick game that's great for all ages with some spooky art, but it's more of in a sort of Scooby-Doo style that's not likely to be too creepy even for your little ones. It's just 3 rounds of flicking fun before you total up some dice to see who won. Now, this one has got a ton of table presence as you build and set up a pinball machine and with from the box, but it's probably going to be a little bit light for many hobby gamers. Mm-hmm. So maybe save this one for when the family comes over for some Halloween fun.
Yeah, we got to see this one first at Gamma Expo and then again at Origins Game Fair, and it had progressed both times. And what this game really reminds me of is the classic tumbling dice, which is a gambling game where you tumble dice down like a set of wooden tiers. Really cool game you can get from Eagle Griffin Games. This is like that, but using the boxes. So it's a bunch of smaller and smaller boxes nested inside each other. You set up kind of like a step ladder, and then you flick a die and it tumbles down. Thus and there's pinball flippers and stuff on it, and there's bumpers you can knock into and all kinds of stuff. I thought it looked very cool.
Holes you can go down. Mm-hmm. You don't get that in tumbling dice.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there's holes you can fall down. Looks really cool. Have not gotten a chance to play it, but it looks awesome. Next, we have some more new hotness for you. Some more hot games, hot off the press, and that is This Game is Killer. Not that the game's name is Killer. The full name of the game is This Game is Killer. This is a quick-playing party game from Smirk and Dagger based on Alien, which I know, Alien party game. Yes, that's a little odd, right? You're each playing a different crew member trapped on a ship with a xenomorph. Your only goal is to survive. And again, Alien party game. You wouldn't think these two go well together. It's a very quick card-based game where you get a couple cards and you decide what room you're in, and then it has a special effect going off. And as expected from Kurt and Smirk and Dagger, there is a ton of take that and backstabbing in this game. What I liked about this one is that despite what I just described, it's not a social deduction game. I realize it kind of sounds like that, but it's not. It's more of playing cards and seeing what happens, kind of random. You can't like lie to other people. It's a really interesting mashup of game. And like I said, it was Kurt's attempt to make a horror party game, and I honestly think it worked pretty well.
Yeah, we demoed it, and I thought it was super unique. Okay. For my next one, hear me out here. I'm thinking Zensu, but we take the wooden pieces and I stick-tack little ghosts to them.
Okay. Yeah, but then you can't see how they move.
All right. How about Terror Below? Another game very obviously inspired by a movie, in this case, the horror comedy Tremors. You are on a hunt for monster eggs in the Nevada desert. The problem is the monsters are attracted by sound, and the faster you go, the more noise you make. It's this really neat thematic game that successfully captures the campy feel of the movie. I wondered if I could squeak this into the list or not, because I think it's technically out of print, but it is still available on Amazon. So
this has some amusing homages to the movie. Like losing your hat is a big deal in the game, and there's actually a part where you can jump your pickup truck over a giant chasm, and it's very chaotic but fun. Next is my, I don't know if it's my first. I can't remember if I have another on the list, but a series of games, and that being the Horrified games. The first being my favorite, and the first being the Universal Monsters version of Horrified. That, featured Dracula and Frankenstein and the creature from the Black Lagoon, all based on the classic Universal Studios monsters. Since that came out, there is now American Monsters featuring like cryptids like the Mothman. There's Greece Monsters featuring, the Minotaur, and other creatures from ancient myths. And there's a new one that came out only recently, and that is Horrified World of Monsters. And this one has monsters from all over the world, as you'd expect from the names. You got like the Sphinx, the Yeti, the Yangshi of China, and of course, you can't have a horror game without the great old one himself, Cthulhu. Now, what's really cool about these games, and what I love about them, is the fact each monster plays different. Like one of them, you might have to collect weapons and then go battle. And then another one, you might have to solve some type of puzzle. And then another one might be moving to certain areas to lure them somewhere. And like everyone plays different. And then you play with more than one of these at once, which just gives you such a wide variety of possibilities. And you can scale the difficulty. If you're playing with kids, just throw one monster out there. It's going to be easy, but the kid's going to have fun. You want to challenge yourself, put in more than 4. The game only recommends 4. We tried 5. Yeah, we didn't win that game.
All right. Well, my next one is Psychobabble. Now, this one was new last year, and we had to keep it on the list because we continue to enjoy this fascinating social deduction game. Still one of the best we've all played. And I can't remember the last big event that we held that it didn't get played at least once. One player is a psychoanalyst, and everyone else is an inmate in the asylum. They all have had the same shared dream, except one who is actually mentally unstable. Dreams are represented by fantastical, whimsical art cards. The analyst is trying to guess which card represents the shared dream. The sane inmates are trying to deduce which of them is insane, and the insane one wants to be lumped in with the sane and just be one of the group. The key trick, though, is that the inmates don't know which among them is actually the insane one. You have to see this game played to really get how brilliant it is, even if some of the terms used aren't necessarily the most politically correct.
Next, I have the Night Cage. This is a cooperative tile-laying game where each of the players is lost in an ever-changing maze. It's up to you as a group to each find your own key, then find each other, and then all escape through a gate while keeping your candles lit and trying to avoid horrific monsters like the Wax Eaters. What I think makes this game stand out are actual feelings of isolation, panic, and hopelessness that can come out while playing. It's not often you find a horror game that actually invokes feelings of horror from the players. Now, this was on our list last year, but I wanted to put it on because since we last talked about this one, there has been an expansion released called the Shrieking Hollow, which introduces a new threat and a new space to explore. Now, when you fall down a pit, you end up in the hollow where the other lies in wait.
Yeah, I honestly feel like this is the only other game besides Nyctophobia that manages to really evoke those feelings of fear and stuff. And Nyctophobia is not on the list because it's very out of print. But next up, I've got MonsDRAWsity, which is a drawing-based party game where one player has just spotted a monster, but they only caught a glimpse of it, and now they have to describe it to the other players from memory. The other players play as sketch artists who have to draw the monster that the first player is describing. I mean, drawing pictures of monsters. How perfect is that for a Halloween theme? I have to say some of the cards in the base set are rather creepy, which is why we go with the cute creatures or robots expansions when we play with the kids. Your mileage may vary.
Now, if you want something else that's more on that cute, silly, spoopy side of things, there is Scooby-Doo Escape from the Haunted Mansion. Now, this did make our list last year, but I wanted to put it back on because our family loves playing escape room games together. We just played one on Thanksgiving, but our favorite by far of all the ones we've ever played is this Scooby-Doo themed game. It's from the op, and it's part of the Coded Chronicles series, which uses this brilliant system where every player is playing different characters, and you end up using a character to interact with something in the environment, which gives you a code that you look up in the book, and then you read it, and it's from that character's perspective. It almost gives like a role-playing feel to it, though it's not as open as an RPG where you can do anything. But it's definitely an interactive story, I would say, like a Which Way book kind of thing going on. And it is just a fantastic system. Now, the Scooby's silliness is in full effect here. Our kids' favorite thing to do in the game was to have Shaggy try to eat everything in the game. And yes, the game accounted for that and had an answer for every different thing you wanted Shaggy to eat. Now, the one thing you do have to be aware of with this game, and this is the biggest downfall of the Coded Chronicles series, is these games are one and done. Once you played it once, it's pretty much done, but you don't have to destroy anything while playing this game, so you can easily pass it on to another family to enjoy.
So yes, I adore Scooby-Doo Escape from the Haunted Mansion. It's one of the most fun experiences we've ever had playing game as a family. But as Mo said, it's a one and done. So I have to call out one more escape room style game, and that is Doomensions from Mysterious Package Company. The game revolves around a 2-foot-tall pop-up haunted house. It also comes with a very elaborate scrapbook that guides you through the 5 chapters of the game. this creepy paper doll house is so neat with all these little details like furniture and cupboards that open up. It's super cool. The game would be so perfect for a spooky themed game night with 2 caveats. 1, because you're all trying to cram around a giant paper doll house to find the clues. Playing with 2 or 3 is a sweet spot. 4 is possible. Anything more than that is just not fun. And number 2, the game is long. The box promises 5 to 10 hours of gameplay, so you probably aren't finishing this in one sitting.
Yeah, that's not one you're going to want to break out. You might want to start it on Halloween night, but that you're getting a week's worth of gameplay here out of that one. And I got to say, one of the best aspects, like you mentioned, is the fact that like you can open all the cupboards. That was one of those things I didn't realize till we got it, and then like, oh my gosh, all these doors open. And the thing's just cool.
The toilet seat lifts up.
Yeah, the toilet seat lifts up. There was a clue under the toilet seat, if I remember. Slight spoiler. And the other thing that, like, I've seen a lot of people showing off this game. We've shown it off. We have an unboxing. Check out our unboxing. But the big thing you don't tend to see is the scrapbook. The scrapbook is so cool. Like, yeah, the dollhouse, 3-foot tall dollhouse is pretty awesome. But you also get this, like, fully detailed scrapbook with stuff that comes out and photos and stuff tucked in and under, and it's just so well produced.
Every bit as elaborate as the dollhouse. The scrapbook blew me away, and I did not expect that.
All right, well, the next one, a game I have, is something we're really happy that we could put back on this list after having to leave it in the honorable mentions for a while. And that is Ghost Fightin' Treasure Hunters. Now, back in print with the new anniversary edition that looks like it changes up a couple of things. Now, the core gameplay is the same game that we have loved for years and have gone on and on about. It is a cooperative catch and grab game that has players trying to get the gems out of the house. That also involves some ghost busting, as you can't let the place be overrun by ghosts. Now, the big new feature that the Anniversary Edition adds is the ability to play it as a one-verse mini-game where one player controls the ghosts.
Yes, competitive Ghost Fightin' Treasure Hunters is now a thing. Now, speaking of new content for older games, I'm going to toss in Sorcerer from Wise Wizard Games. Now, Sorcerer is one of the best 2-player dueling card games out there. I know everyone's trying to outdo Magic. Everyone's trying to make a new version. But you know what? Deanna and I really enjoyed this one. This one really caught my interest with some of the interesting things going on. Like you rolled randomly to generate how much mana you got every round. And you could do things to reroll the dice. And combat was dice-based. And it just, I don't know, it was a lot more interesting. Now, the thing is, they also had a really unique way of doing deck building, non-collectible. You're going to take 3 different decks, your character, your lineage, and domain, and mash them together. And sure enough, Wise Wizard has released multiple different character lineage and domain decks. And then you're playing a battle to control 2 out of 3 locations with your usual stuff, right? You're going to summon monsters, you're going to put on equipment and buffs and battle each other and roll dice and everything else. Now, our main complaint when we reviewed the game was the creepy, horrific artwork and themes. Like there is someone who plays diseases and bugs, and it's just really gross. And it just kind of over the top. And I was like, I would love to play this game with our kids. But at the time, they weren't old enough to really deal with this. Like they were creeped out by the artwork. But honestly, when we're talking about horror games, this fits perfectly now. But the big thing that I wanted to bring this back up and bring Sorcerer back to people's attention is Endbringer. This is a new box set, the same size as the original. It is an expansion. It is not standalone. That includes 1 to 3 player cooperative play. So now you're going to mash up your deck. You're also going to create an adversary. Now, the adversary is also made up of 3 different decks. So you still got that cool deck mashing going on. And you're going to play cooperatively to try to defeat the Endbringer, this adversary. Now, this expansion is just hitting stores now. So this is, again, some new hotness from us.
On top of that, there are actually 23 other decks of cards that you can bring into the game to mash in of the different sorts. They have really put a lot into this game, and some of these are just brand new. Like the game was released in 2019, and in 2024 there are like 6 new decks that have come out.
Yeah, it's still going strong.
Still going strong.
And I gotta say, Endbringer looks super interesting. Next up,
Deanna said the co-op version looks super interesting. You got to stop saying you don't like co-op games.
I'm curious about it. I want to be tormented so I can tell you all I hate it.
There you go.
The Deadlies. All right, that's what I've got next. I mean, Halloween's all about evil, right? And the 7 deadly sins are evil. All right, this may be a bit of a stretch, but we love this game. similar to Psychobabble, this is another game that we brought home from a con, and we started playing it and showed it to our friends and family and other local gamers, and people cannot get enough of it. This is now a staple for our monthly game nights. It's like Uno for gamers. It's a hand-shedding game with 7 suits for the 7 deadly sins, where each suit has its own special rules when played. Things like Wrath, making your opponents draw cards, Envy, letting you swap hands, etc. We can't recommend this game enough. It works both for a family game night, a casual game night, or an adult beverage-filled party.
I'm going to call it one amusing thing about this. So every episode, for those who haven't joined us live, haven't seen this, we set up a Kallax behind me and we put the games we're talking about back there. So behind us, we've got all the games we're talking about tonight, and these horror games are on the list. And Gwen often helps us out, my oldest daughter, to collect the games. And we're like, can you grab the Deadlies? And she's like, the Deadlies? Does the Deadlies fit? You're doing horror games, right? So we had to explain. Like, there's Wrath and Envy and 7 Deadly Sins gets that lust is one of them. So there we have our game about sexy costumes now included on the list. So, I just thought it was funny that Gwen called us out on it before the episode started.
All right. Well, now we have our honorable mentions, games which slipped off of our main list for one reason or another.
So it's just you. You're alone on a cold and gloomy night. Maybe the kids are out trick-or-treating and you're handing out candy, or you live on a cul-de-sac and no one actually comes to your house. From what I am told, we haven't tried it ourselves, a great way to spend your time on a cold and gloomy night on your own is to play one of the many Final Girl scenarios. Now, there are a ton of these out, each pitting you, the star, against a different trope-filled horror adventure. Pretty much all of your popular horror movies are represented here. I'm not sure if any of them are licensed, but they're definitely, you can kind of tell. There's the Alone at the Lake, but the camp, and there's this In the House, and William Shatner's chasing you or whatever. I've heard great things about the Final Girls. Unfortunately, I am not a big horror fan, nor am I a big solo gamer. So it's not a series I've tried, but I have heard really good things about this one.
And there are about 20 different scenarios you can do now for Final Girl after their most recent release of a season.
Okay, somewhat along the same lines, how about Arkham Horror, the card game? Yes, this ends up as an honorable mention every time we talk Halloween games, and no, we still haven't tried it. I'm mentioning it now to save time so we don't get called out for not calling it out. I know people do consider this also to be one of the best solo games of all times. So if that's your jam, check it out.
And that does play more than one, but it seems like most people seem to prefer that solo. All right. So back in the day, again, when I was talking about how I don't really like horror movies, right? But I would still always put on the WXON TV20 Detroit Creature double feature at noon on Saturdays and pray to the gods that it was going to be a giant monster movie instead of some werewolf, hammer, film, vampire, whatever. And I loved watching stuff like Godzilla and Ultraman and Jet Jaguar. Now, the best ones, though, was the crossovers when you got them all together on Monster Island. So I want to toss in another game I think would be great for family game night, and that is the King of Monster Island. Now, what this is part of the King of series of games, King of Tokyo, King of New York, but this is a cooperative version where players team up to defeat a Titan-level boss. Now, one warning, despite being a King of game, this is not compatible with the other games. This is 100% standalone, big coffin box game, a big epic game of its own. Now, I have heard people that like to swap out the standees to play their favorite monsters, but like the cards and the dice, the whole mechanics don't work together.
All right. Well, unfortunately, it is not really available right now, which is why this is in our honorable mentions. Dee mentioned it earlier, but Nyctophobia, if you can get your hands on it, is a great choice for Halloween because you're running literally blind to escape from an axe murderer or trying to rescue your friend from a vampire, depending on which version of the game you have. This is one of the most unique mechanisms out there, as all but one player is literally blindfolded while playing.
Yeah, it comes with the best blackout sunglasses I've ever seen. I don't understand how they work so well. They're just sunglasses. Like, it's not a full blindfold. It's just you put on these sunglasses and man, they work. And one fair warning, and this is something, session 0, before you start playing this game, You have to be comfortable with someone else touching you to play this game. That is the one complaint I've heard about this game, and have heard people calling it the most horrific game ever made because I have to let strangers touch me to play it. No, they're only touching your hand. They're going to guide your hand to touch the board. But it is worth noting that some people do have a problem with that, which is something, you know what, I never even considered. I had no problem with it. But I have seen that called out on other podcasts, other shows, and one review that was like, this is the most horror. Of course, leading up to this episode, I've been listening to other people's top horror lists. Well, to some people, that's the most horrifying game out there because someone else has to touch you.
I could see that at public play events. That could make you uncomfortable. I mean, we're playing with our family. That's a different bag entirely. All right. One of the more popular horror-themed games here in Windsor lately is Blood on the Clocktower. There was a group that came out to play at one of our brewery game nights, and from what I've heard, that's grown into a sizable group that is now getting together to play every couple of weeks. They're supposed to be at our next event again coming up on the 24th as well. Unfortunately, I'm always busy teaching and hosting, so I haven't gotten to try it myself, but the people who are into it are loving it. To me, it seems to be a social deduction game along the lines of Werewolf, but taken to an extreme level with way more going on, a lot more story involved. It's not about picking favorites to or lack the person you like least to eliminate, as much as getting into your role and interacting with the other players. And it also features campaign style play and rewards playing with the same group over and over. So I don't know, the entire thing just fascinates me.
Yeah, it looks fascinating watching groups get into it. Like there's definitely like a whole, something's presented, then everyone breaks off into little groups and chats with each other and then come back and do a thing. And kind of reminds me a bit of like the classic game Diplomacy. There's some of that going on there. The whole campaign thing is you're trying to figure out who the demon is, and like some people are evil and some are good and you don't know. And there's some roles that are mixed. And like when one of the local gamers, Ross, brought this out, he's got this like giant box he's carrying around like on a platter while he's playing and moving chips around. It looks extremely involved and looks extremely awesome. And we need him to do another intro night. So if anyone's in the Windsor, Detroit area on the 24th, they are going to be having a beginner friendly, like you don't have to have played, you don't have to be part of a campaign to try it at the Walkerville Brewery. So if you can make it out, this is your chance.
All right, well, there you have our list of great spooky board game suggestions. We're going to stop now in the lobby to see what they have to add. There's been a few suggestions in there. First off, from Charlie Brown, he asks, is there a board game out there where you play kids and go out trick-or-treating, perhaps while avoiding thugs to steal your loot?
Oh, what is it called? MD Board and Games. Isn't that a trick-or-treat game?
I don't know.
The candy one?
The one I found, there was some...
13 Candies?
Is that not 16 Candies? Maybe it's not about trick or treat, but I thought it was. Fast-paced sweet game, each round, draw and discard cards, different types of candy, trying to form the best hand. They say, I got candy. Okay, there's no actual Halloween theme.
All right.
So I found one. It actually fulfilled on Kickstarter back October 2023. But there is a link there. Actually, I haven't tried it to see whether or not you can pre-order it. Yes. So at castleclark.net, it's Haunted Halloween, the Trick or Treat game. Okay. But I can't speak for it. I just know it was out there, and has some fun Kickstarter-y type stuff with candy tokens and giant candy corn piece holders and things. But again, I've never played that game. That's the only one I could come across quickly.
I feel like there's a lunch money retheme begging to be made here.
I'd be surprised if there isn't one. I haven't heard about that game in a long time. The Pumpkin Problem, one of the holiday hijinks games, is about the Halloween candy going missing and having to find it, but you're not specifically a trick-or-treater. I think you're a parent who's going to give out candies in that. But that is the theme of that one. That's probably the closest I've got. That might need some research. Like actual, instead of Halloween themed games, but like Halloween themed games, like not horror or whatever, but like literally Halloween themed games.
And I tried to do a quick Google, but unfortunately, due to the terms, finding a board game about dressing up in costumes for Halloween is really, really hard because there are a lot of board game costumes that exist. Yes. And so trying to narrow down the search terms is proving a little tough to do on the fly. So that might have to wait till later.
So I will point out there are, I can't count the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, About 20? No. There are at least 25 games on Board Game Geek that have Halloween in the title. Many just called Halloween. There's a 2017, a 2023, a 2022, a 2012, a 24. Halloween Party, Halloween Dice, Halloween 2 the game. Well, we know that's based on the horror. Halloween Lies, Halloween Party Memento Mori. There's a ton. Halloween Hustle.
Yeah, and like there is a game called Trick or Treat, but it's actually just like a rum game.
That's what I was about to say. Well, I went down a different search rabbit hole. I went down a different search rabbit hole, and I can tell you there are a bunch of Trick or Treat card games out there.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're just Googling and telling you about it live. How exciting is that? What else we got?
All right. They also mentioned, Charlie Brown also mentions When Darkness Comes, which they're playing through right now.
That is not one I know off the top of my head.
So. And the Arkham.
Is that Twilight Creations there? All right. So that's a Twilight Creations game. Twilight Creations makes a ton of horror themed games. I don't know if they're still around. Like they're old. Like this When Darkness Comes came out in 2002 and has like 9 expansions, but stopped being in print in 2005. So Twilight Creations was the company often known for taking pictures of real people for their stuff. They're the people behind the Zombies game with 3 exclamation marks and a number of other well-known horror games. Not seeing anything. 2019 is the newest game I see from that publisher, but I do know they put out a ton of games with that theme. My favorite was Brains, which I don't tell you exactly how to spell, but that was like a quick Brains. Sorry, I just found it. Brains from 2006. It was one of my favorite games from them with little tiny brain tokens, but it was just a silly push your luck dice game where you collected brains and whoever had the most brains at the end won.
And while Charlie Brown calls out Zombicide Black Plague as being a scary one, realistically, any zombie games are perfectly acceptable for the spooky season.
Yeah, I don't know what the latest Zombicide version is. I do know they put out a Zombicide version 2, like part 2. And they did Marvel Zombie. Yeah, but I don't think that's the most recent. I think the most recent is an Old West version of Zombicide. But yes, the Zombicide games are neat. We have played a smattering of them. I played Invader. We played Black Plague. I enjoyed Black Plague. I've played the original. I haven't yet to try the second edition. I've heard it's better, but I haven't played it myself. And with that, I think we will wrap up and move on.
Thank you so much for the suggestions, Lobby. What about those of you watching or listening at home? What games are on your Halloween game night list? Let me know by leaving a comment, sending an email to Deanna at tabletopbellhop.com, or start up a conversation on our Discord server.